The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. The Mayo Experience. The Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog, the Memorial Tournament. Final bets, the weather, DK lineups. Underdog plays one and done and more. Toe Tag and Tambo from Ship It Nation on the line with me. I missed you last week, sir, although it was my best DraftKings week in like 2 months. So maybe it's the opposite thing is happening now.
Everybody's nicer to you when I'm not around. So prepare to get crushed this week, Pat.
I don't want to be crushed. I want to win money.
No, I know. That's good. I'm happy you did. And I'm losing my voice a little bit today, so I won't be able to crush you too bad, but certainly appreciate you getting it covered last week, taking care of everything as we continue to move forward and take care of our guy, James. I did want to shout out quick just to, the community. I want to raise as much money as humanly possible for James as it should be. And I did put up the GoFundMe yesterday. If you guys want to check it out, I'm organizing it all, taking care of that with his wife, his mom, his family. But you can check it out on my Twitter, X, at Toe Tag and Tambo. It's pinned there, and you can check out the details.
I will put that link down in the description of this video and podcast once the show is over as well. So if people just want to go directly to it and you're watching this after the fact, I talked about James last week at the intro of the show. How are you guys holding up?
Yeah, as good as we can be, I think. I say the same thing to everybody. It's not easy, even with knowing the battle, the 15-month stretch and fight that he put out there. It was still extremely tough getting that news last week, and we battled through, did a little tribute over on the Ship It Nation channel, but it doesn't make it any easier. So I really appreciate all those that reached out, even support with, us grieving and everybody else that is along the way. But, just a special human being, ton of great response as expected, and just awesome to see for such a sad scenario and something that we don't have really a lot of control over, right?
Of course, yeah. I've been trying to work through it myself over the past week or so, and I feel like you want us to be having fun talking about DFS golf, right?
He would for sure. Yeah, it was tough last week, but got back into the groove this week. Excited to be here with you. Missed everybody, and I do love this tournament. It's like the perfect storm. I talked about this yesterday, Pat, but it's like you get most of the best players. I know Rory's not there, which is interesting after Jack Nicklaus walked him through how to win the Masters and finally got him to the podium there. But that was one thing. I think it's a non-story, but it was just interesting. But without Rory, you still have everybody solid. It's still got a cut, which has been a real cut. At least last year it was like a decent amount of people and low 6-6 for DFS. And then it's at such a good course that I love this course personally. I think this is a great spot. So I really enjoy this event every year.
One thing that people do not enjoy is the FedEx Cup playoffs, and the tour is going to put out an announcement, because it was reported on yesterday, that they are changing, once again, the final playoff structure of the FedEx Cup at East Lake. It's still going to be the top 30 players in the FedEx Cup. Now we're back to no advantage being taken place. So there's no staggered start. The guy who's in first place isn't up by 10 strokes on everyone else. It's just going to be a 72-hole tournament. Whoever wins gets their $40 million and they can walk out the door. I think it's better than the staggered start, but this still isn't it. Is it too crazy to think? Because I think this would help some of the tournaments towards the end as well. That, how can I frame this? Do we make it soccer style, where if you whoever wins the regular season wins the money?
Yes. Yeah, so it's definitely better than staggered start. That was the worst thing in the history of golf. But just to note, and they're not going to, it doesn't feel like they say there's a possibility in the future that they'll go to match play. I know people don't like this. I put out a huge thread on this a couple of years ago. I just said, I know PGA Tour they suck at content. They need to get better at it, but they should make it where the money gets settled up on the regular season. Whoever those top 30 are, that's where the money's won, because that's all it's for. It's for these players to give an extra boost to their bankroll, however they finished up and won their points. If their point system is good, let it run. But in the play, this needs to be something better, and it's definitely better without the staggered start, but they need to make this like a content fiesta. Like, this needs to be, like I said, it should be match play. You get some buys in there, but then you also have these guys pick who they want to play against. Force them to pick. And if Scotty loses to the guy he picks, so be it. The money was settled up early. The battle is down the stretch. Everyone says the ratings aren't good for match play. That's why they got rid of it. Match play in Texas doesn't mean shit. Nobody cared about it. It was actually an amazing event to go to. It was fun for DFS, and that's not what they care about, so I get that. But in reality, match play is a lot better when there's something major on the line. They need to make it better for that. And that's what they struggle with. They suck at doing content. We know this. They don't show content. They don't show sports. It's bad.
So maybe the fix is, because I always thought they should play 36 holes and then reseed everyone based off that. And if you could do the staggered start that way for the 36 holes, and then the top 8 or the top 12 with a bye ends up going to match play for the weekend. And there's real stakes on the line. And part of the reason that the match play did so poorly ratings wise is because match play is awful to watch when there's one guy, or even the final. So you have 1v1, then a third place game that no one cares about. But if the 1-2 match was for, let's say, I don't know, $40 million, there was a difference of $20 million between it. There's some intensity there. And then just stagger it down that way. The 3v4 on the Sunday, has a difference of $5 million, $2.5 million for the 3 or the 5-6 match, whatever it might be. I think that's a better solution. Or just throw the playoffs out of the window. Call it something else. Call it a 3-week stretch. Keep the 3 tournaments. Do St. Jude, do BMW, do Eastlake. And you can cut people down through that. But you just reset everything after you award the FedEx Cup to whoever wins the regular season. Because then you can go back to the old format where it's like 120 guys, 125 guys, 70 guys, 30 guys. You can still cut them down that way. But you accumulate points throughout the first 2 rounds of it to get to the finals. And then that way, no one's like so far out ahead of everyone else that it doesn't really make a difference. And as you mentioned, you've already paid out on what the big prize is going to be. Just set up an alternate prize for this. Call it something different. You don't need FedEx to do it. Call it the Coca-Cola Cup or something like that. And then at least it lets those 3 tournaments stand alone, and you get the benefit if you do award it at the end of the regular season, that if there's a legitimate race for $20 million, which is a not insignificant amount of money, maybe you'll get Scotty and Rory and the guys at the very top. They'll have to show up to Detroit or the Wyndham Championship if they want to accrue a few more points to win.
That's what you got to try and make happen, though. That's the whole point of why people are saying match play and why it'd be better. Because if you have Rory versus Scotty and the possibility of that happening, that's what people want to see. But not only that, FedEx Cup pays the money. As you quite well know, Pat, this is to get views. That's why it's all set up that way. They're not doing anything to get views because nobody gives a shit about somebody playing for $25 million when they're already rich golfers. Scotty Scheffler made like $60 million or $50 last year and then played for 25. Who cares? The difference is they're not showcasing what they need to do, their league. Tell the story. Like everything's the same. Oh, Ben Griffin's a loan officer. Jake Knapp was a bouncer. Like these stories are shit because they don't put any context to them. You need to use this time to explain your players' stories, how they made it there, who they truly are. Tell these stories so you can make 30 more guys popular. There's already 5 to 10 that are going to be super popular, 5 to 10 that some people know a little bit about. Tell the story about the rest. So when people say, who's this loser Ben Griffin winning? Mind you, by the way, he's won twice this time now in the season and better than most out there. It's people know who that guy actually is. And there's not these dumb stories about it. They just do such a horrible job with content. It's embarrassing, to be honest, versus other leagues and the way they do it.
That's a really good point about, does anyone really give a shit of Scotty and Rory playing for $20 million? Because if that was the case, Liv would be the biggest thing on earth.
Correct. You could get that every week on Liv because Rom's always up in the top 5. Bryson's always up in the top 5. Like, no one cares. That's not what it's about. If you can get the matchup, of course, that makes match play better when you can make like a 1v1 if it's already going to be that. But all I'm saying is they're wasting the time and basing it around money that fans don't give a shit about when they could change it up, make it about their league, make it about the content, grow it. It's right before football starts. It's your last shot, really, to kind of get everybody involved and make people watch and learn more about these players. So I think they just need to do a better job with that, and that's how they would do it.
Let's go back to Muirfield Village, Dublin, Ohio, checking in on the weather. You have concerns about Friday in the rain, that the day might be washed out. I hope it's not, because on the super forecast of Grandview Heights, which I'm using as my wind tower this week, it looks like the wind is going to be up, and it looks like there's sparse rain throughout the day. Fortunately, we saw this at the Truist when there was bad weather, that if there is a window to get everyone on with only 72 players, you can make that happen.
Yeah, I think you're right. I said, like, it's just odd that it shows that right now. I don't know what it's actually going to be, but I don't think it'll be washed out. I think it's like you said, they're going to find a way to get it in. It's just there's a lot of rain on the forecast, and then what it actually ends up being is hard to tell when it's Wednesday versus Friday right now. We know how quickly things change with weather, especially where we live, it's not going to be that much different. I don't think here. It looks like it could change pretty quickly, so we'll have to wait and see.
Even if you get it in a little bit on Friday, that you can make it up on Saturday pretty quickly. Now, there is the cut, as you mentioned, the top 50 in ties, but that even allows you to squeeze in more, not necessarily more players. Obviously, there are fewer players if there's a top 50 in ties cut, that you can just jam those guys in later on Saturday and catch up completely.
Yeah, the other interesting thing that's kind of, well, again, wait and see. It's weather, but Saturday looked pretty windy in the morning. Like it looks like, 17 to 20 miles per hour with gusts up to 30. So it's definitely looking like there could be some, or 29, I guess, but it's definitely looking like there's some winds on Saturday as well to play through. But yeah, I think it's fine. I think just in reality, we'll wait till we get closer to find out if we get more information. But for right now, not much we can do with, Wednesday morning versus Friday to decide.
So is there anything that you can take away from this? I guess is my question. That can you construct lineups to battle this weather and try to take advantage of it? Or is it just such a complete unknown that you're better off just picking 6 guys?
Well, yeah, I think that's always the case. But like I talk about, so I always bring up building in sets and people confuse it so often, which, there's no weather advantage, so you can't do that. Like right now, to be honest, the way to build lineups that it's been the last couple of times out, I will say, is Scotty Scheffler lineups in one set and non-Scotties in the other, because last week was a great example of that, where Scotty finished 4th, still wasn't in any of the winning lineups. And it's because most of the Scotties that had Schmid were 4 or 6s or 5s or 6s. So it's like, even if you had 2 of the top guys, they didn't have Ben Griffin or they didn't have something else. So I think you can definitely build away from this if you want to, just by building in sets, but right now, I don't have anything that I can take away that says I got to build this way to make it happen.
I had a really old person moment this week. I guess you turned 40. This is what happens to you. I didn't send out my newsletter this week.
You forgot.
It's in the drafts. It's done. I just forgot to hit send.
Do you still got time? Send it out.
No, I'll send it out. I'll send the mega. I usually have the mega article and course preview for Monday afternoon after I finish recording with Jeff, and just forgot. So that full one plus the cheat sheet will be coming out on Wednesday night, or I'll probably put it on Wednesday afternoon now, just so people can have more time to digest it. It's a pretty long article, but I'll have all of the DraftKings ownership, the weather breakdown, and the quick bets, which I don't normally have as a part of that big column. You can sub for free in the news or to the newsletter right now down in the description. Also, we're almost just over a week out from the live show in Toronto. You want to come hang with us for a Cuss Corner live? You can do that 1 p.m. Saturday afternoon next to Skydome at the Rec Room. Tickets are on sale down in the comment section and description right now. Smash the like while you're here. That would really help out. If you're watching live, you smash the like. And if you're watching after the fact, give me your favorite bet for this week, because I'm looking at my bets right now. I had to decide between a 17-1 Xander and a 24-1 Cantlay, because those odds really did shift as the week went along. All those guys at the top got put down, because I don't know if you looked at the initial offering of odds, but they were horrible this week.
Yeah, I heard a lot of comments on that. I wasn't spending a lot of time on it, but I definitely heard people complain about it in the Discord, post about it. So it makes sense. And now weighing those two numbers, that's tricky. What are you deciding on? What's your thoughts on Cantlay versus X?
I think I bet Xander. That's where I ended up landing. Every time I've bet Xander this year, he's been horrible. But I do feel like you're still trying to catch him on the way up, where with Cantlay, 2-time winner, the ball striking's been good, but there just seems like there's something off about him, that he's playing this well tee to green, or not even tee to green, ball striking wise, can't chip, can't putt. Maybe he gets that back together, but that seems to just sort of be emblematic of his season. It's a persistent problem, where with Xander, we're getting the good parts of what we want to see with Xander's game. Normally, like when you go back and take a look at what he did for the past 18 months before his Marilyn Manson surgery, that he would be just green across the board, tee to green. He'd gain a bunch driving, a lot on approach, be good around the green and make a bunch of putts. That's his entire game. Sort of like when you take a look at what Scheffler is doing at the moment, that's the template for it. But Xander's one of the other few guys that can actually get on board and put spike numbers up in each of those categories. And he's put up spike numbers in some of the categories and all of the categories, just not all in the same week. So it does feel like he's inching closer to being that guy again. And I think that he's the one with the best chance to take down Scotty.
Yeah, I'll like him for sure when we get to DFS. I think I'm not afraid of anything that's been happening with him. It looks like people don't want to go there at all really this week. So we'll have to, again, people always spread it out some. We'll have that conversation when we get there, but it could be a massive gap between him and Scotty later. But from the betting perspective, I think that's clean and I like that call. You don't want to be on board for Fleetwood's first win, Pat. That's what I'm told. It's coming.
This is what we're doing?
Yeah, that's what they say. I'm hearing this, that every week is going to be Fleetwood's first win. I thought it was last week, but it didn't happen then either. But what about this week? Is this the spot?
That hadn't crossed my mind, no, especially not at 25-1 in this field.
You don't think you'd win this thing?
I mean, I think I always think that Tommy can win. I'm just not willing to put my money behind it.
Man, there's people that would not even get close to break even on Fleetwood if they got the win out of them this week. So it's tough. I guess you just got to keep going back to the well. But yeah, another fourth place for Tommy last week. I liked your post. I was following along on Sunday, and I thought that was going to be the way, right? If he gets it, it felt like a Ricky Players type situation where it's just like a creep up, sneak up the board, get there, and then pull it off in the end. But it didn't happen. So fourth place for him again.
Weirdly enough, he probably could have done it if you knew it. He just needed to be out a little bit earlier as the first groupings out of I forget if he was -5 or -6. I believe he was -6. And there was just a big group of guys at -6, and he came out in the later part of it. If he had gone out in the earlier part of it, because he stood on the 11th tee, the par 5, which he ended up bogeying at -10. You just make birdie there on a par 5, which was, I think, the third easiest hole on the course. Keep your head above water, make one more birdie coming in. You post at -12. I mean, the winning score ended up being -12. That is the path for him to do it. He just didn't say scorching for the entire round.
Yeah, slowed down quite a bit. I agree. That's kind of the setup I was seeing as well, and what I thought could happen if it was going to, but it did not. Similar to what we always get out of Tommy, but hopefully he gets a W, man. Good guy. I want to root for him, but it's hard to imagine. But everyone's sort of placed him on their betting card. Seems nuts at the number.
Well, Ryan even points out in the chat, EVR has more wins than Tommy. Can't believe he's not even in this tournament.
That's his boy. It's his favorite golfer. He's in the chat all the time. Shout out to Ryan, but he's always supporting, and he wants EVR every field. Everyone's got their guys. We'll talk about that later, but this field's got some guys down low that people like to attach themselves to. So we'll see how it goes.
JP has pointed out that there is an Ohio State University airport that is about a mile or two closer to Jack's place. So I just pulled that up. So the Ohio State University airport is what I'm on the super forecast right now. It doesn't show really anything different.
No, I pulled it up as soon as he posted. It's exact same right now. Again, we'll see how it goes.
So that's the one that I'll put the link into. If you're looking for the Windfinder Tower, Ohio State University Airport appears to be the closest one that you want to find. So just to run through the bets very quickly, I have Xander at 17-1. I have Victor, which is a boost on CoolBet as well. If you want to get him at 35-1, you can do that at coolbet.com. You can hit the link in the description right now to opt into that Ultimate Cabot Golf giveaway. Trip for 4 in, I think, late September to go play the Cabot courses in Nova Scotia. You got to be in Canada, outside of Ontario, to take advantage of CoolBet. Plus, there's a $200 deposit bonus down there for you as well if you want to go check that out. But I have Victor at 35, and I have him at 30 from earlier on in the week. So those two guys, I went with Fitz. I got him at 60-1 before the crash happened. He's still lingering around 55. If you like Fitz, you can go in on him. And then I took Noren at 66 with 8 places, and Andrew Novak at 80-1 with 8 places. And those are my 5 for the week.
Yeah, pretty crazy. I feel like better somehow about Andrew Novak than I do Matty Fitz or Alex Noren, but here we are.
Noren's weird because I went through on the research show, there was Valhalla's a Jack Nicklaus design course as well. And obviously the conditions weren't optimal for making it as difficult as possible in last year's PGA Championship, but it was really littered with guys who do well at Memorial.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Totally. It's like you just feel like we haven't got anything out of these guys recently, even though there's a little bit of spark there. It's not a lot. So it's tough to go back there, but I get it. I like the Novak call though.
Yeah, I mean, Novak's been playing well. He just saw his team. I mean, he and Ben Griffin got their team win together. Ben Griffin just wins. And Novak was in the mix. He was second tee to green to Scotty last week at Colonial. And I'm trying to get him to come on the show for next week to talk about the U.S. Open, but he might be going to Canada to play as well. So I don't know how much time he's going to have. I think he's doing what Michael Kim did earlier in the year. He's in all these big events now, so he's just trying to take advantage of everything. Well, he's playing well.
I would be too, man. That's the way to do it. And that's how they rack them up. And we talked earlier about the point system and all that. Some people wonder, how do these guys get into these places, they forget some of these finishes they have, man, they're super strong. And that's why even if there is like a boom bust factor to it, it still helps. Those booms really get them the points they need to show up in these other places. That's the key.
I do like Noren a little bit. I liked what he put together at the PGA Championship. Obviously, I didn't have high expectations for Noren playing in the final group with Scotty at a major. We've seen short-hitting Swedes win here before. Shout out David Lingmerth. And we've seen shorter hitters do well at this course in the past. Now, since it's become a signature event, if the best players tend to win. That's what we've seen with most of the signature events. There's like one or two every year that kind of go wayward, but that's it. This one does feel like, with the difficulty and challenges of this course, that good long iron players, good putters can really kind of take a step up in class, even if they do lack in driving distance a little bit.
Yeah, I agree on that too. And that's, again, we'll look at it when we sort of start building stuff out later, but you can definitely have guys like that into your lineups and just make it happen. So betting on them just is fine. They can find their way up the board. It can be a grind me out session on Sunday, and some of those guys can come through. That's where you get your Norens or your Fitzpatricks, sort of just if they're in the mix. First of all, they got to be there, right? But if they are, that's how you see it happen for sure.
We haven't been doing well on one and done, yet we're still inside the top 40 in the show lineup where we make our picks. I went without you around. I went with Nico Echeverria last week, who made the cut. That was fine. Put up a solid 21 grand, which was more than most people, since most people took Daniel Berger and he missed the cut.
You got away with a lot last week because like Ben Griffin winning, Matty Schmidt, didn't matter about Scotty because who would be using him at that event? Like, so like you could, even a missed cut last week didn't kill you big time because of how the board shook out at the top. So getting a made cut, making a little bit of money is great. But if you were to have a bad week, last week was definitely the week to do it.
Oh, 100%. And to take a look at it as well, it was just sort of my point when I was talking it through with Ulrich, that I know that Berger, I forget I could probably look it up what the ownership was, but in my mind, it was going to be Berger, Harris English, JT Poston, and maybe someone else. Like, we're the clear four that everyone were going. And I was like, well, those guys aren't great. If I just don't use them and use someone else, then I should probably be good. It's just the guy that I picked also sucked.
Yeah, that's the problem. So yeah, we'll see. What are we thinking for this week? What do you got on the board? What do we got left?
So no Scotty, no Morikawa, no Xander, no Ludwig, no JT, no Connors, no Hideki, no Spieth, no Siwoo. So that leaves us with Berger, Lowry, Hovland, Tommy, and Cantlay as our top options. And this is one that we really want to maximize, being a signature event. I was weirdly leaning Lowry. I like Lowry this week, but betting on him just never turns out to be good. But I do think this is a place where he can most definitely compete. Like, I bet on Victor to win. The pick should be Victor, but he's available in 82% of leagues already. I think that he is probably going to be, he or Tommy will probably be the two highest owned guys.
Yeah, I leaned Lowry as well. Interestingly enough, I kind of like that that spot. And so I'd be fine with Lowry. Otherwise, I would have went Hovland, but I didn't know he was 82%. And I know the list of guys that we're out of means other people are out of them too. So it's going to lean a lot of people to go to Hovland, because where else are they saving him for?
True. It would have been Cantlay, but
yes.
And he'll still have high ownership, because where else do you use him the rest of the year? But he has 29% left for people to use. So he just can't get that high. If people want to go to Scotty's at 25%. Xander, I guess, is the other one. Xander is 61% available. This might be a time that people pull the trigger on him, because there's just really a lack of other options, especially for most people near the top.
Yeah, the interesting thing about him is where he's really good is the U.S. Open. Gives him a little bit more time to chill and see how it goes. But the problem there is now people that didn't use Bryson or want to use Rahm or whatever it might be, there is U.S. Open options that they got in the bag. And then it's, you can use Xander anywhere, of course, but like that's kind of the thought process I'm thinking of. So, I like the Lowry call for this week. But obviously, if we had Cantlay or something like that, I'd be interested. I think a big majority of those 29% do play Cantlay, though. Because what else are they doing with him? Like you said,
you could probably try to sneak him in somewhere else. Travelers might be a spot. Let everyone punch themselves out on Cantlay this week. Maybe go back to him at the Travelers Championship, because we do have him available.
Yeah, I like saving him only because of what you said. Like I think those other spots and just having him in the bag and hoping that he comes through is a way to do it. And even when we get to it later, building lineups and stuff like that, there's other options around him too. So I'm fine with saving Cantlay and letting everybody else that has him use them up, because I think it's what you said. It's gonna be Cantlay, Xander, Hovland, Fleetwood. That's kind of your guys at the top, right? That I can think of.
So that's why I was sort of drawn to Lowry. I don't think that Lowry's obviously well behind Xander in terms of talent, but just the way that he's been playing, he was just towards the end at the truest at the same time, and because of Sundays and Shane Lowry, he fell off. But I would have most definitely taken that result at the truest in the face of not everyone not being able to use some of the bigger options. So we have Lowry, Berger, Straka was the other one that I was considering.
Yeah, I like both those guys. That's what I was going to say. It's actually when we get to DFS, 87, 8,800, the two big guys right there. And the Honda Open are like cognizant now, but the Honda Classic story where we see those guys battle, like that's kind of the two guys that I was thinking in that range. Sepp is paired with Scotty this week, I think I saw. So I don't know if you care about that, but I like the Shane Lowry call. I'm fine with him or Sepp, either or.
I'm trying to think of where we would use Shane Lowry. I'm actually for this lineup. I mean, Cuss likes him too, but Cuss likes Rahm at Portrush. I like Straka at Portrush. I think it's a good course for him.
Yeah, I think we could use Sepp wherever we could use Shane. It feels like they do pop up together. So whatever you think, pick one for this week and save the other. But if you like Sepp for down the road, let's save him. Let's save Cantlay, let's save Sepp, and let's use Shane.
Well, or it goes the other way. You take the guy who won at Portrush last time in Shane Lowry and just use him there.
That's what I'm saying. Like you could rotate those two, but that's part of the thought process.
But I think that most people would try to do that. So let's do that. Let's use Shane Lowry for this week at Memorial and just see how that turns out. And hopefully it's good news for us. If you had like a clean slate of players, would you just jam Scotty?
I'm probably just using Scotty or like you said, just whoever my best guy is at the top because you got to get the money here. This is a big one.
It is. If you have Scotty left, I mean, we don't know what the prize pools are for the Open or the U.S. Open yet. They don't. That people always ask me, like during major championships, why isn't it updating in real time? It's because they don't announce the purses of the tournament until the week of, and then it officially, when it gets put into the system, is when it updates. And most of the other tournaments are known well beforehand what the prize pools are going to be, what the payouts are going to be. So that's able to update in real time. That's why it always gets updated to whatever it actually was. But at majors, it just takes a bit more time to come into the system because all the different majors use different APIs. And that's just, the back end of how some of this stuff works. But you get $4 million for winning this event. I can't imagine that the U.S. Open is going to be 20 million. It's probably going to be like 4.2. So you can use Scotty against lesser competition, no Rory, no live guys at a course where he just won, coming in playing incredible golf. If you still have him, this is a great spot to do it. And I know that he won Travelers last year, but I do think that he should be a bigger favorite at this course against this field than he will be against most of the same players at TPC River Highlands, which can become a putting contest in some years.
Yeah, there's also just massive question marks around the top of this board. Like you said, when there's no Rory here, it's like we can make a case for all these guys: Xander, JT, Kawa, Cantlay, Fleetwood, etc. But they also could not do anything, and Scotty could just come in and crush over 4 days at a course like this, playing Scotty Scheffler type of golf, even like last week's stuff. It's going to play better here because this course is different. It's harder, all these other setups, things like that. So I think that's a great call. And also it's kind of, it's not really a big deal. Like waiting around, if people wanted to, even if you knew the US Open purse or something like that, it's just not going to be a big difference. It's a signature event. There's huge money up top. Everything we just said, I would just roll Scotty if I had him.
Yeah, and it's against lesser competition. I think that's the way that you need to look at it. Scotty's plus 250 to win this tournament now. He's going to be plus 400 at the U.S. Open, which just aren't good odds like that. He shouldn't. When you add in Rory, Bryson, and Rahm, if you threw those guys into this tournament, they would be the second, third, and fourth favorite.
Yeah, you got it. That's exactly it. So I'm good with that. All
right. Let's move over to Underdog and see what we can do on the Underdog streets this week. Code Mayo at Underdog right now. Get you a deposit bonus of up to $1,000 plus a free pick in the Pick'em game. Is there anyone that you like to target for round one? Because I think this is where the weather can come in handy just a little bit. We were taking a look through it that it does seem like Thursday, it picks up a little bit in the afternoon wind-wise, but if you get out early enough, it seems like the course is pretty benign.
I would just take the early guys because it's not like there's a bunch of rain or anything coming in, but if there's even a little bit like they talked about and what you can kind of see, and then the winds are lower and the temps are not that much lower, they're just under 60 local, but they're not that low, and it only gets up to like 68, 70. So yeah, I'd be targeting the morning guys for sure. I think that's a good way to go early as we can.
I want to go check out on Fantasy National what this is because I in my mind it's really easy to hit the fairway here. Maybe I'm wrong about that. This is should be gigantic fairways. Maybe they've changed that over time. Let's see. Driving accuracy, 68%. We can get in on Colin Morikawa. What's that? If he needs 11 fairways hit, so 11 of 14 he needs to be, which is 78%. That's a little bit higher, although he is a prodigious accuracy player.
I guess, what are the other, like, go to Colin Morikawa for a second and just let me see everything on him. Not that stat. I'm saying, what are the odds that we can get on different things?
We can get him to shoot higher, so par or worse at plus 112. 4 birdies or better higher at plus 113.
Yeah, I feel like I like the strokes more than the fairways, but I guess he's going to hit if he's hitting the fairways, the strokes probably come in anyway. So I'd be fine if you want to target the fairways and just call it that.
But if he gets to the fairways, you mean you like the score of
Hey, I just saw it, so I wanted you to scroll up. Now I see it. It's only 0.87x for lower. So, yeah, I'd probably just take him hitting the fairways.
We can try to find some other. The fairways in might be like, you can go, well, Ludwig's has already been bet down to 0.77. That ain't no fun. Spieth accuracy? What's
our guy Lowry or Berger or Xander? What are those guys all at?
Let's see, Lowry is at for fairways. It's 9.5, but it's 0.88. That actually feels like a pretty good number just to get to 10.
I'm good with that.
All right, so let's throw that on. Let's see what Berger is up to. Berger is at 10.5. Same thing. What's Straka? Because Straka hits a ton of fairways too. Yeah, but he's been bet. They've all been kind of bet down from where they need to be. How do you feel about Ludwig this week?
I like him quite a bit, actually. I want to talk about that later. So yeah, in on him, but he's 8.5. Like, no wonder it's bet down. Like, that's nothing.
And we can put them, if we just put them both together, though, we go higher. I don't know. Oh, because I have Morikawa on there. So I was like, well, that's a very generous payout. 2 point. I mean, I'm not opposed to just playing something that's a little bit chalky here. I'll go 9.5 on Lowry and 8.5 on Ludwig. $100 still plays 222. I'm not opposed to that.
That's a nice money maker, and you can put more on it if you like it more than we do. And obviously the odds are in that favor. So yeah, I think I like putting 3 guys on there, but yeah, I'm good with that too.
Yeah, I prefer the 3 or the 5. I think that is just statistically the best way to play it per odds. But now we're taking lesser odds on things that we think that are really going to happen, that have a very good chance to happen based on a player profile, based on the course of being accurate. I think this is probably the better way to go in this circumstance.
And those guys are out earlier, just for what we were kind of targeting as well too. They're out a bit earlier.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, here's a weird stat from Quinn. Let me throw this up on the screen for you. Sam Burns has lost on approach in 10 consecutive tournaments. Also, Sam Burns has gained in putting in each of those 10 tournaments. Inconceivable. I don't know if it's inconceivable. I would like to see a Drew Matthews might do this. Nelson Adcock might do this. I mean, those would be the guys that I would ask first. But I think that there is some sort of inverse correlation to like good putting and poor iron play. Like, just the way that it gets tracked for strokes gained, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'm not the stats guy, but isn't there, like, I can't remember this off the top of my head either, Pat, but isn't it like because the approach is so bad, it's like maybe he's getting the ball eventually closer to where the putting stat counts from? You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
So that would help. Like you said, there's definitely correlation to that. So I just can't remember officially how it works and what counts, this, that, and the other. But yeah, it seems something along those lines would make it possible. And then what are the splits? Like, that's the other angle to it. Okay, you got a sample size of 10. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But what is it? Like, is it he's losing 0.1 and he's gaining 0.1? Or is it like it's extreme? Like, there's more factors to it than that. It's a stat is what it is. That's what it is.
Kent Davies says data golf doesn't really show any advantage to distance. It's like he could have just listened to the show when I said that 20 minutes ago.
He's double checking you, Pat. People are checking out.
Hey, just believe me. That's the way you should go about this.
Just believe me. That's a great line. Like, Nike has just do it. Pat Mayo. Just believe me.
I did the research show and walked this through.
Yeah, I like it. I'm good. We can market that.
Yeah, that's the way that you need to approach it. That's why the Norins, I mean, Fitz definitely has extra distance. And we saw the distance always matters. And while it's not more of an advantage at one place than another, if you can hit the ball long and straight, then you're going to be at a significant advantage over the field. Ask Scotty Scheffler. It's a big part of his game.
Imagine. Yeah, I like that call. Maybe Ludwig when we get there too.
It's just Ludwig. The problem with Ludwig right now, he's another one sort of like Xander that if you wanted to catch him on the way up, I think that now, next week, US Open, that kind of thing is probably a time to do it. It's just he's been so inconsistent. It's really bizarre, actually.
Yeah, he's had time to put in the work. He had the missed cuts, skipped event, all good to go, man. Last year, by the way, too, this is the big one, missed the cut at the PGA Championship and then came in here and finished 5th. So I think we bet on talent. We don't bet on, well, it's been tough last couple of weeks. Yeah, who gives a shit? Like Victor Hovland sucked and then won. Like it happens. So Ludwig is too talented. And if you're betting on him, this is the type of week to do so.
I think that there are two ways to approach that. That, hey, this guy hasn't been good, but we can still back him. Versus, I'll throw Andrew Novak out or Michael Kim out as an example of this. Like guys that you don't associate with prodigious talent, that you probably do want to ride them when they're playing well because they're obviously like riding a heater at the moment. Whereas the more talented guys, like the baseline talented guys, that their form actually doesn't really. It's nice if they have good form, but that also crushes their odds at the same time.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're agreeing or not about like agreeing or disagreeing. Just saying,
I'm agreeing. Like I think targeting great players with bad form might be a sneaky angle, especially in DFS. But even to get better money, higher odds in the betting market. But if you want to tackle, and maybe like people's baseline change over time, obviously, but someone that you don't associate as being a potential top 5 player in the world, if they're in the middle of a heater, that's probably a good time to.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I was like the Novaks, the JJ Spawns, those guys of the worlds, like you talked about. If that's happening, yes, stick with it. I agree. And then it's the inverse on this. And the thing is, especially in DFS and even betting odds, you're going to see it. The betting odds are, well, it's all tied together because the projections have all this stuff baked in. But a guy like Ludwig is never going to project good enough. It's going to be Fleetwood, Connors, Cantlay, all these dudes around him, but you're betting on talent. You're not, the projection's just the projection. It's a medium projection. So you will have to adjust your optimizer. You will have to make your changes, or if you're betting, you'll have to make those decisions for your card. But I'm definitely taking chances on a guy like him versus, the opposite of when a guy, Andrew Novak starts playing poorly for 6 months. Well, then I'm not going to try and get back on him and pick Eric Cole. Last year, remember he had the heater? You ride him on the heater, then he sucked for a while. I'm not trying to peg the spot coming back for him. It's too tough. But I'm going to just take shots on the guys at the top. So yeah, great point that you made, and I'm with you on that 100%.
Well, let's see how that translates to our lineups this week, because after the break, we're going to start building and talk about ownership percentages, and hopefully Tambo's not a curse for me in doing well on DraftKings. The Travelers Championship, the Northeast one and only PGA Tour signature event. Can it surpass the excitement of last year's thrilling finale when Scottie Scheffler broke away from the loaded leaderboard with 3 straight birdies on the back 9 during the final round, leading to a dramatic one-hole playoff with Tom Kim, winning him his 6th PGA Tour victory of the season? Will Scottie repeat as champion? Come watch as the world's best PGA Tour players try and dethrone him. All of them competing all 4 days at TPC River Highlands. The action begins June 19th and runs through June 22nd. For tickets and information, visit TravelersChampionship.com to see the greats, including Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, Ludwig Oberg, and the rest. The Travelers Championship. There is only one. Coming back with Tambo from ShipItNation.com. Again, Tambo started a GoFundMe. If you're listening to this after the live, that link will be down in the description. If you would like to donate to our pal, James, who passed away last week and was working with Tambo at Ship It Nation. I know that everyone's very familiar with James. And should we put in a James pick of the week? Like call it the D-Gen pick every week that we make? Like something that we know that he would be on?
I heard Brick mention that, and I really appreciate Brick and Pete covering that. Obviously love watching Laws every week. I think it's incredible, but just it's like literally the opposite of James. I get it. There's lots of things we're doing to honor him, but it's like he's a process guy, not picks and plays. And he had his sleeper run. He had all that stuff, but it's funny. He was making fun of that the whole time. It's just an inside bit. So I don't think we need to do that. We got a lot of good ideas to honor him weekly, but I think any support you guys can put out there, it's going to go to animal shelters. He did a lot of, stuff with wounded animals and dogs and taking them all in, had upwards of 10 at any given time for dogs. His wife has 2 charities there, or shelters that will be picked out. And then he's a product of his mom. His mom is definitely Mama D-Gen, and she wanted sustainability. She talked to James. James left some information with us. he wanted his legacy to live on, not just be a one-time donation or something like that. So we are going to have community support for the entire DFS industry in honor of his name. I got the idea from a friend who had a friend who passed away, and they had like an annual golf tournament. This will be something similar. He wanted to do an event where it was kind of like before his diagnosis, and we planned the Arizona trip. He wanted to do that every year and have like a big blowout or a big bash. And now we're going to call it the Big Guy. And we're going to put on a special event for the DFS industry that honors James and has a lot of things and homages to, you know, ranch waters and the cold brews in the morning and the picks and plays versus the process, all this stuff. We got a lot of good things planned. So really appreciate all the support that people are putting in. Almost up to $10,000 raised already. We would like to raise as much as possible and come together on this to make it something special for him.
All right, so after the live, check out or just go to it's a pinned tweet at Tambo's X account at Toteg and Tambo. Again, after the live, I'll have that link down in the description and in the podcast feed as well. Here's what Harry asks about DK this week. You like Ricky? He's playing good right now.
Yeah, I saw that. You had it up ready to go. I don't know, the form 15th, 16th, but I can't give. I'm not super behind it. No. Awesome shot though on Sunday from around that tree. Do you see that one? And I forget what it was. Like it was a big conversation. Him and his caddy going back and forth on. He executed quite well on it. So I don't know. Maybe he's putting something together, and he'll be first round leader at the U.S. Open. Pat, that's what we'll get.
Oh, I like that. Is he even in the U.S. Open?
That's what we got to look up first. I just thought about that as soon as I said it, but yeah, who knows?
Let's see, yeah, Ricky 16th at the Schwab, 15th at the Truist. I mean, 16th at the Schwab isn't all that great considering he everything he did during the week was just all putting. Same as Matty Schmidt. Like he didn't play all that well. He just made every putt.
Agreed. Yep. And that chip in at the end for Schmidt was pretty crazy too. Shook down a lot of money in a lot of places for those odds.
So where do you want to go with DraftKings? If we try to build out I don't want to say the optimal lineup, but what we think the chalkiest lineup is going to be, I assume it starts with Scotty.
I think you have to, yeah.
That leaves us 73. So Ricky?
Well, like it's down low. There's definitely going to be some laziness here. Like Novak goes in. He's 7,100.
Oh yeah, he most definitely goes in.
So
I do like Novak this week.
It's fine. I do too. I think he's a misprice, but that's going to get inflated because everybody thinks that and it's going to happen. I also think people like Rye at 7,600. He's
really even coming off the missed cut. He was the other guy I couldn't remember for the one and done from earlier. It was Rye that people liked, and he missed the cut too.
Yeah, the nice thing is it's baked in for another. What was he 9,100 last week? So now people are like, oh, I got to stick with him, get the discount. So he in projections, he's popping off the page in that range. Him, Spawn, Novak are kind of the guys. And then when you go down low, it's your boy Michael Kim and Bud Cauley that are down there as well. And Bud Cauley coming off the big finish obviously has projection attached to that. So that's part of it as well. Bud Cauley probably goes in this just to make it work.
So Scheffler, Novak, Rye, Spawn, Cauley, that leaves you with 7,700, which means you can get to Mav McNeely if you want to.
And do you think people go Mav or Bobby? I think people go Bobby Mack there. He projects better.
That's Cuss one and done. Bobby Mack.
And he's coming off a 6th place. Yeah, I mean, that's the lineup right there. We might get this one.
No money left over either.
No, this could be perfect, Pat. Perfect storm. And I'll use that as the starting point, but this is gonna get inflated ownership the higher stakes that you go for sure.
Even in they're checking my location. I'll see if I can enter this stuff. Okay, we're in.
Yeah. Somebody Ross, shout out Ross K in the chat said, are people hammering Tommy Ladd? I see his odds now down to 20-1 in different spots. Like it's his first win, Pat. It's got to be Fleetwood's first win because they only win when their odds are. Remember Henley? It wasn't his first win, but after all that time, it was Houston Open, I think, that year. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, this number is horrible. And then, of course, he wins. Like, it's no problem because he only is going to give you the win when it can't even pay you back for what you're down. Not even close.
There is one difference. You're correct that he can only win at a price point where you can most definitely never recoup your money off of it. But people are still betting this number. He also needs to be terrible odds and no one bets him.
I hope that's all they got on their card because that's the only way they're even getting close to getting it back. If you got your 6-1 odds overall and that's the guy in your card, I mean, you're not getting much back on Tommy long-term at all.
Looking right now at the most popular plays, seems like it's Scotty above all else by what I'm going to guess is a pretty significant margin at the top. When we take a look at the very top end players, Xander and Thomas are coming in. I would guess maybe Thomas would be the lowest owned of the top 6 guys. Does that make sense to you?
I've got 1, 2, 3. I got Ludwig.
I didn't have Ludwig as a part of that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he's 7th. My bad. I was looking at the wrong. You were excluding Scotty on purpose, and that's why. So of those others, or you were including him, but he wasn't showing on the screen. Sorry, I get what you're saying. So yeah, I would say Thomas for sure then. And if we were including Ludwig in 7, it would be Ludwig.
Yeah, Thomas, Ludwig, Hideki, and then you're into Spieth and Henley. If you're going to go above, and then Sunjay is probably the lowest owned of all of those guys, and that covers everyone above 8,000. So in my mind, at a tournament like this, obviously it might not be the case. Maybe it's at the bottom you get different. If there's one of those guys you like or 2 of those guys that you like, using them might make you a lot different this week.
Yeah, it won't be hard for me. Sunjay is being disrespected at 8K, so that's perfect. 8,100 or whatever it is. Yeah, he's definitely fine here. He's actually played good at this course. He's played fine outside of the miscut last week, and he's had some other, spike 5th at the Masters, 11th. He's had other good score, 23rd. He's been fine. I think it just depends if he shows up this week, but 8th and 10th 2 of the last 3 years here. I'm more than fine going back to him at 8,100 if nobody wants him.
So I think this is a good conversation just based on what we said before the break about, do you back guys in good form with a mediocre to unknown talent level? Are they riding a heater versus the superstars that you would back coming in bad form because maybe they recapture it? Where do you rate Sunjay on that scale?
Quite higher than, again, I'm a Sunjay truther, but I still have him quite a bit higher than most of the guys he's around, just me personally, but that's subjective. Like, I don't care about Sam Burns, we just had the conversation about Denny McCarthy, Matty Fitzpatrick, Keegan Bradley, Tony Finau. Siwoo is going to get the ownership there for $200 more. Siwoo's coming in with everything, right? Siwoo's got 28th, 8th, 17th, 15th, a miscut at the team event, and then an 8th. And here he's got a 9th, 13th, 4th, and 15th. Like, it's got to be Siwoo there that everybody goes to. So I get that. But I'm going to still put Sunjay up there. So I'm interested in Sunjay at 8,100.
I worry for him at a course that seems to, when you take a look at what is emphasized here and how you win or come inside the top 5, that approach means more this week than almost any other week on tour because of what we mentioned earlier about distance not meaning as much off the tee versus shorter hitting, accuracy meaning more, positioning meaning more, that it does overweight what approach is. And Sunjay's lost 10 of the past 11 weeks. There's something wrong with his irons right now.
Yeah, until there isn't. So yeah, that's the thing. And I don't know how he did it these last 2 of the 3 years where he came top 10 at this course, but he could do it again. So I'll be interested. I'm just playing the game down there. Like, I just don't have a lot of love for all those other guys. He's going to be sub 10%. I'm fine with just put him in. Also, it's priced in. Whatever you're saying on those stats is baked in. That's why he's less than the average price, $8,100.
See, I don't know if that is baked in or not because he's playing worse golf at the moment than Keegan Bradley. Like, I would probably rather take the shot on Keegan because I think that Keegan's playing better at the moment, and even just guys below him. Like, there's not much differentiating Sunjay and Sam Burns right now.
Sure, but you can go to that. But the Bradley one's just classic what people look at. Like, yeah, you saw him come 8th 2 weeks ago, so he's better, right? No, he is 30th, miscut, 47th, 18th. He sucked. He missed the cut at the Masters when Sunjay came top 5 and nobody cared because Rory won. So you wouldn't even know about it. But Sunjay's got a 5th, and 11th, and a 23rd in the same time Bradley has an 8th place. Like, how is that better? It's just, again, it's what people think. And
well, it's not necessarily what people think when you do like an analysis of what is happening with.
I just did an analysis. That
is
a factual analysis.
You're just, but we're trying to project out of what means the most at this course and how can we take advantage of that. How much different, like how owned is Keegan going to be versus Sunjay? Is it going to be 2x? Is it going to be 3x?
So far, it looks like it could be 5 to 10% more.
So, but Keegan, that means Keegan's still coming in at like 8%, right?
No, I still think Sunjay will come in at like 5%. So if Keegan comes in at like 10 to 12, that's kind of would be what I see right now.
Okay. I'm just taking a look at the tee to green numbers for Keegan. The thing that you think that is ruining Keegan is absolutely true. Just he can't make any putts. But I would rather take, from what we've seen, if we're trying to project at the top of the leaderboard, who is going to be there, maybe Sunjay can skate by with his spike putting week. But if we just get Keegan to putt relatively normal and he just does what he does and what he has been doing, he's been like 3rd tee to green over the past 3 months. So he's not that far behind Scotty in that regard.
Sure, and you can play them both together. I'm just saying, like, the point of like what people look at and go, I think Keegan's been playing better. It's like it's all right there in the numbers. You can go look at them. It's, you know, if you look at the actual results and the strength of field at the harder courses, all this stuff, like Sunjay's been just fine. So I'm just saying I don't see why he would be such a lower ownership option there. And I do think it's still baked in because you can make a case for either of them, but they're both priced around the exact same price and they both have flaws. So I'm just taking the guy with the lower ownership in that example if I had to pick one.
All right. And if I had to pick one, I'd take the guy with the flaw that I think is most, I was going to say overcomeable. That's not a word. That he can overcome a little bit. I don't want to say easier because obviously he can't putt. But if there was one thing that was going to change on a dime, it's likely that Keegan makes putts for a week rather than Sunjay turns into Scheffler with his irons.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing, right? If he pops out of it though, then you need him. But it's not like he's not my highest guy of the week. It was just a breakdown of, like you said, he's getting no ownership there. He's the lowest owned guy above 8K right now. It shows
100%.
So,
I completely agree with that.
That to me is just wrong because I can make cases against and for every golfer just like you can. But it's like, for me, it's not even the truther in me. I just think he's like, again, RBC Heritage was a signature event and he came 11th. The Masters is a major. He came 5th. It just all got overlooked. And this is a month ago, not even. So he can definitely do what he needs to do here and turn it on. It's fine.
It is. I mean, the reason that he ended up coming inside the top 15 of both those tournaments was an average of, I think it was a chip in per round, which is a weirdly unsustainable thing.
It's all like you said earlier, though, with the guy with the Sam Burns stuff. It all changes gears. Like he lost strokes putting at the RBC Heritage and still finished 11th. Right. Yeah. So it's, well, he made some chip and made a chip in or chipped in out of the bunker and whatnot. I saw all this stuff. I watch him. It's like he still didn't even get it going with the putter. What if he had got it going with the putter and
well,
still
he didn't have any chances to get it going with the putter because he kept chipping in.
That's right. Yeah. So it'll, you know, there's no way he can do good this week. No way.
I mean, that is not what I'm saying, but
I know. I'm just saying it's for anybody. It's all the same stuff. I guess it always comes down. That's why me and you do have some fun battles on here. And why it's funny when we're not together, I feel like we win more money, but it's like, this is the tricky. Everyone just wants to look at the stats and act like they're the gospel for the week at hand. This is a new week, brand new week, different course. Anything can happen in golf. All I was stating is that he is $8,100, which is below the average price and likely the lowest owned guy above 8K. I'm playing him. Like somebody said in the chat, Sunjay and 15% of lineups, not a bad idea. Yeah, I'm good with that. 10 to 15%, and you're probably double the field to triple the field if he comes in around 5%. So I like that call here, and I just think he's better than what he's been. And he's a guy that if he did all of a sudden do well at this event, it wouldn't be a surprise to me, at least. Maybe for others, but I think those other results stand for something. And the fact that he can chip in is he can chip in. He's gained strokes on around the green tons. If you want to pull stats, it's like his around the green's always good.
It is. These are because of there's no shave. I mean, there are a few shaved off areas here, but there's a lot of, this is why Victor has done well at this course. And we've seen him do well at Bay Hill in the past too, is that you're not chipping off of really tight surfaces. It's more of the long grass, hack it out. And that just doesn't it leads to variability in around the green play. Whereas when you have a course that relies on you clipping it exactly the right way to get the spin, go, hop, like Victor can't do that. He'll just chip it over the green. But it does feel like around the green is somewhat the skill of around the green can be mitigated here because it tends to be lie dependent, a lot like the US Open in a weird way. And these are the hardest greenside bunkers on tour. So you could say, for one thing, Sunjay's excellent out of the sand. Maybe that's a huge advantage for him here. Or these bunkers are just not conducive with these greens to putting the ball. You're going to have to roll it out to 12 feet and make that putt. There's just no getting it close to the hole.
Yeah, and like again, some of the stats come off. So Keegan gained strokes putting in 6 of 11 trips at the Memorial, someone says.
Okay, but I think there is something to that maybe because these are super fast greens, these are super difficult greens, does that mitigate putting? Are there certain players that are better when the stimp meter is up and the greens are more difficult with more undulation? Maybe. But if you're going to use that as a basis to pick Keegan that, he's going to turn around for the putter, I don't think it's bad that he's done it. So he's proven that he can do that in the past. What I would say is that the dude is averaging like 8 strokes tee to green over his past 8 events. That's a big number. What has he done here? He's lost 4 years in a row tee to green. So
yeah, exactly.
If you wanted to pull one, you got to pull the other 2.
That's where I'm going with. I put up the quarter. This is Caribou Keegan right here. You want 6 of 11 is meaningful? No, it means flip a coin. Like which one? If he shows up, well, I should have got him because 6 of 11 times he was good. Well, the other times he sucked. So what is it? And you got to pull them all. So yeah, you're on the right track. That's what I'm trying to say and just prove a point. But yeah, that solves it. You got to pull one. If you're pulling the other, people like to cherry pick. That's what it comes down to.
Let's see. Am I crazy? I have Lowry this week, but can he show up on Sunday? Probably not, but I don't think that hurts you for DFS as long as he comes inside the top 5.
Yeah, we got to get him to Sunday and then see what he can do. One of these Sundays, it's going to go well beyond, the close calls that he's had. The second place has got to suck. I think he's spoke publicly on this now to say how it always seems to suck when he gets in the mix. It's always, he's got to talk about Rory McIlroy and his buddy. And he's like, I would just want to talk about myself. So he's been one of the guys on the media train of, like with Morikawa and others saying, you got to give us 5 minutes to chill out. Like we don't want to come out here, talk about our failure, or in their eyes, a failure in a shitty round that didn't get the job done, and then tell you about my buddy Rory and how good he is. Thanks for bringing me out. Appreciate you.
Vinny asks if I'm going sweet shirt. Thank you. Just bought it. Paul got me a nice birthday gift, a nice Golf Town gift card. I was like, I could use a new shirt, something a bit more. I'm a bigger lad these days. Tambo, some of my old shirts they look a bit ridiculous on me.
Yeah, Peck Mayo. We pegged it. We hit it up last time. Peck Mayo. You can do the Peck popping animal.
Oh yeah.
Look at him go.
Just had a big chest workout yesterday, right after I played a round. I hit the ball so well yesterday and had my worst round of the year. It was unbelievable.
God, that's going to be Sunj this weekend.
Sucks. Like my short game and putting had been electric all year, and inconsistent irons, inconsistent driving and irons were awesome yesterday. And I 3-putted 13 holes.
That is the worst when playing golf. I'm not a big golfer, as many know, but if you're stringing it together in the spots that are usually the hardest to get the job done, and then just blowing it on the greens, that's the absolute worst. Because typically people that aren't golfing all the time, don't have the muscle memory, aren't playing at the highest level, or scratch golfers, it's like, man, if I could just put together a good off the tee day and not lose a ball here and there, if I could just do this on approach, I feel like I'd be okay. So there's nothing worse than when you string both of those together and then lose it on the greens. Just that sucks.
What happened is my course has gigantic greens. They're 9,500 square foot greens. So they're like Kapalua size greens. So three putting isn't out of the realm there if you're just on the wrong part of the green, that you have like an 80-foot putt or something like that. But it wasn't even those that I was having all the problems with. The issue was they aerated and sanded the greens about 2 weeks ago, and I've played the course probably 4 times in that stretch, and the greens were, and there's been a ton of rain here, as you know, you live here, that the greens were so slow. They were so slow that you could really give it some oomph. And now that I didn't play it last week, it'd been a week since I played it, things have dried out, the sand is off of them, and then now they're just way faster than they were the past 7 times that I've played it. It messed with my mind the entire day. So I was either leaving everything 15 feet short or 15 feet past.
Yeah, the putter didn't know about them pecs, Pat. Like you put it on, so it's like, it's really hard to get the weight down now and figure it out. You got to adjust.
Let's see here. This is a good shout. Matt, I think, has the proper Keegan shout here.
Yes.
After all that, the most logical bet is just bet Keegan first round leader.
Agreed. Yeah, I saw that too. I love that. Matt was the one who chimed in earlier on it. So definitely believe that's the case. Let's get on Keegan first round leader, Pat. Let's join Matt on this train.
Let's do it. I'm going to go over to Cool Bet right now. Sports 200 for that $200 deposit. Then you can, if you just plan on betting on golf, you can opt into that cabin trip. There's nothing extra you have to do besides betting on golf. Then just hit opt in. Let's see what we got here for first round leader on Keegan. It's funny because you go from like site to site. Cool Bet's really funny in that sense that sometimes you'll be like, when I caught the Rose first round leader, I think it was like 80-1 at Cool Bet and it was 60-1 everywhere else. But sometimes it flips on depending on who the certain player is. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. First round. Oh, to make the cut. Scotty Scheffler, minus 10,000. Probably don't want to do that, do I?
Put 10 grand on it.
I do want that dollar.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Probably, who used to do, was it Osimo that used to do that?
Yeah. He knows value when he sees it.
Let's see here. First round leader. Okay, I found the market. Where are we at? Keegan, 45-1. I mean, that tracks based on what his odds are. I'd want more. Yeah, Screw it. Let's do it. 45-1. Keegan Bradley, first round leader. They'll be the official first round leader play of this show as we're doing it live.
Love it. We talked everybody into it. This is perfect.
So let's go back to, we've just spent the entire time fighting about Sunj and Keegan, and they haven't been in a lineup yet. This is the lineup that we built earlier for what we thought would be the chalkiest thing to do. Scheffler, Bobby Mack, Rye, Spawn, Novak, Bud Colley. How do we amend this if we want to keep Scheffler in? Keegan and Sunj?
Yeah, we definitely got to get them both in together. We've literally seen people dunk on us with like 50K screenshots being like, well, you guys are busy arguing about which one. I just played both and shipped everything. So the interesting thing though, is that puts you down into the 6K range. Again, once you pop one 6K guy in there, you can get right back into the 7s. You are different enough with Keegan and Sunj up the middle. So you could play some chalk down low, but it just feels like one of those weeks too. I will say this, where it's another lazy week, Pat. Like it definitely is. Like if you go down the range, you always do the pockets that people aren't playing. It's easier to do it the other way this week because it's Scotty, and then it's Morikawa, Fleetwood, Connors, and then it's Straka, Berger, Siwoo, Keegan, maybe Keegan. We'll see.
I would say I would say it's probably Fitz in Siwoo more than Keegan.
Even still, it's definitely Siwoo is the main point. So then it's like, yeah, pick your poison of the guys below, but there'll be a little bit. But then it's gonna be like Aaron Rye, Spawn, Novak. Yeah, and even in the 6K range, it's gonna be Colley. So
Colley, Gerard, Eric Cole.
Yeah, I like that. As a call out, like that's the right, not who I like to play. So that's the call out of like kind of where I see people landing, and whatever else they end up on is there too. But that's what I'm saying is who people are playing. So all I'm saying is when you build a lineup like this with Keegan and with just Sunj kind of being a major differentiator there, maybe Keegan is a little lighter, but he's still double digits, I would say. I don't just want to go land on Colley, Michael Kim, and something else. I'd still be wanting to get different in more places because that's what this type of tournament leads to. And there's going to be a likely chance that we get a low 6-6 based on there being an actual cut here versus what we've talked about in the past, people treating it like a no cut.
So where do you think that we should go in this regard? If we're going to go, let's just throw Bud Colley off the list. I actually like Bud Colley, but I'm not playing Bud Colley in a 72-person event at like 22% ownership. I think I'll take a pass on that one.
Yeah, I think we got to decide like who are some of the other guys down there that you have interest in that maybe aren't as popular. Like, let's see who, if you go down even further, is there anybody down low that you would like? Like somebody asked you earlier about Ryan Fox, but there's like Thomas Dietrich, Lucas Glover, Nick Taylor, Sam Stevens, anybody down there that you would be comfortable with that gets us back into a range where we feel better, but doesn't bring the ownership with it because, Bud Colley will probably be sub 10%. Maybe he gets there. I don't know, but let's say he's up there. It's like that doesn't really boost you as much, especially if you're going to land in a spot that's pretty chalky to end it out too. So I'd rather go to somebody else unique down here.
In the big $25, how much ownership do you think that Bud Colley ends up with?
8 to 12. I'd have to put a range on it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like 20%.
Yeah, if that happens, that's just nuts. We've seen it this season, certainly, but
that's why I'm saying that. I think that he is such the clear choice down here, and you can fit in two. It's because it's not just like you're going to play one 6K guy because there's going to be the want for more. Even if you don't build Scotty lineups and you build 3 of the guys up top, you're going to dip down into the 6K range at least once, probably twice. If it's twice and it's just a random person doing it, Bud Colley is going to be the answer for at least one of those questions.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's something to be said for that. So this is a quick example from last week, but the Matty Schmid stuff, I look back, it was like, I think like 60% of the Schmid lineups had Scotty in them, which makes sense. You get the cheap guy, you run right up to the top. I get that. But then it made it harder. Well, it was affordable still. It did make it harder to land on Ben Griffin in those versions. So you just didn't see a lot of those combinations together. And I think the best Schmid lineup with Scotty Scheffler last week was like 12th place in the big $25 when I look back. So it just shows you how hard it is to get all the other pieces correct. But if I'm going Bud Colley, I probably want to do it in like a Ludwig lineup or something. You know what I mean? Like get me different elsewhere so that let Colley come through and somehow Scheffler doesn't, because if Scheffler and Colley come through, then you're leading to a lot more chalky builds as a whole.
I will go. So it's not that I love these guys, but I think that Glover is a good play at $6,500. And I think that Justin Rose is a pretty good play at $6,900. No one's using those guys.
Can't spell Glover without love. So maybe you do love him, but this is the guy. If you put those two in, now you got 7,200.
And then you can get Wyndham Clark, Adam Scott, Novak, Ben An, Harman. I've just liked Ben An at this course for a really long time. I don't think that anything really points to him at the moment, but nothing points to any of these guys besides Andrew Novak.
I guess that's what I say. Like in this, could you play Novak? Because Rose, Glover, Sunj, all extremely low owned.
Yeah, let's do that.
Style of build. You can definitely do it. That's what I'm saying. And it projects just as good as what we had earlier.
Yeah, so let's do that. Let's play this lineup instead. I prefer this lineup 1v1 over the one that we built to begin with.
And if you want to add more leverage into it, then yeah, swap your Novak to Benny Ann or whoever you Wyndham Clark, potential huge upside. Maybe he's got the ceiling you like better, and that gives you another low-owned guy. But that's kind of how you should be looking at it, right? That's the
but I think that this is a perfect example of what you always talk about in terms of how do you make your lineups different. Well, we have two of what are probably going to be we're going to have the most owned guy and probably the fourth most owned guy or sixth most owned guy. People are using Andrew Novak
for sure,
but we put in four guys with them that. I mean, people will use. It's not like people are not using Keegan. Like I said, 8 to 12%.
People are using Keegan. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he's one of the, maybe everyone decides on him over Fitz in that range and he ends up at 17%. That's still not a big deal based on the other three that we have. And using the two 8K guys with Scheffler, it's not that people don't own Keegan, but owning Keegan, Sunj, and Scheffler all together, as you mentioned with the Schmidt point, where everyone who had Schmidt had Scheffler in that lineup, that this lineup is now just inherently unique. Use whoever you want.
Yeah, my guy Titledown always says it best. There's levels to it. And you just said it. So though some of the levers in this, not levels, there is levels to it, but the levers that are pulled is like when you got Sunj, Glover, and Rose, that's already low owned options. But people only look at ownership and don't always consider roster construction, Pat. And that's what I'm saying is that is another lever to what you're moving on, what you're pulling. Is not many people are playing Scotty with only one 7K guy. Forget about with 2 8s or with 2 6s, all these different things. Most of the Scotty lineups will have 2, if not 3, 7K guys. We saw that earlier, how easy it is to build. So knowing that, not just low-owned plays, but different style of roster construction. And then you need to think about pulling the additional lever in the lottery. So this lineup we just built with Novak in it, because Scotty and Novak will be boosted up even more in a single entry, and Keegan gets a little boost, and the other guys, maybe it's Glover gets a little boost. It's like you might want to pull one more lever on Novak down to Benyon or Wyndham Clark. And yes, there's a ton of more risk and less projection that comes with that, but it's giving you the opportunity to get out of the corner with everybody else in the lottery, where it's like, now I really pulled something because Novak failed and Wyndham Clark had a good week for once. That got me in the spot to really get lucky on Sunday. That's what people are looking at, and that's the way to do it.
Shannon commented that I should just get the new $500 lab putter and it will make everything be good. The problem is, like, putting over the past year, since I actually bought like a $500 Scotty Cameron, has been the strength of my game.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why it sucks on the good day for you on everything else when you lose that. But it's like you said, they switch the greens up on you. The weather changes things, all of that. So I don't know. I think keep going on. What's your best score and what's your sort of thing you're aiming for this year, goal wise? What's your best score ever, and what are you aiming for?
Best score ever, like in my life?
Yeah,
is a 77.
Okay, and what are you kind of tracking for right now? Obviously, your goal is to beat that, but what are you tracking for right now? Like, what are you playing like?
I want to shoot 75 or better once this year, and I want to shoot under par on one of the 9s.
Nice. Okay, yeah. So good goals to go towards. And what did you say you shot the other day, even with the bad putter?
What did I shoot yesterday, Jared? 85.
All right. So
if I had putted, if I just didn't 3-putt yesterday, I would have broken 75.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Corey Connors.
Yeah.
Let's do that. There's the segue. Yeah, no, I think that's good. And I think, just keep tracking for it. That's how you got to do it. But for back to this, I will say there's something about Siwoo that we didn't talk about yet, where like he could kind of fit into those builds. So that's another thing where we had the $200 left over, give or take, or could have made it. So we did. I think Siwoo would be much more popular in these types of builds when people go there.
So yeah, if we did that, we don't have the money to get there in this lineup, but you just drop. I mean, the chalky version of what we just built, to bring it back up on the screen, get rid of Rose, get rid of Sunj, and now all of a sudden you have Bud Colley and Siwoo Kim.
So what is
that's
that?
a 2v2 that quintuples your ownership or more.
Did you keep Glover? You did.
Yeah, I the only 2v2 I made, I took out Rose into Colley, which is probably what I mean. If Colley gets overinflated, that could be 7 times the difference in ownership.
Yeah.
And then Sunj into Siwoo is probably minimally 4 times the ownership and could be more.
Yeah, this is definitely like the super popular version. Funny enough, this projects only like 1 point better than when we pulled the trigger on Sunj, Glover, or Sunj and Rose there instead. So like that's an example where in like one level would be in like a single entry, higher dollar, so you can get away with just making a couple changes, but probably similar, in that stance. But if you were switching to the chalkier version, this would be what it would be for sure.
So let's build the non-Scotty lineups. What you said, it's funny because we didn't speak last week, but those were the 2 sets of lineups that I built. Mm-hmm. I played 50 lineups. I played 25 Scotty lineups and 25 non-Scotty lineups.
Yeah, I think that's a real thing right now is kind of how you're looking at it, because it also gives you a good way to look at it too. Even if you're just doing some pre-work on the slate and you want to see sort of comparisons, that's where you can start to figure it out. But I guess this is the thing, Pat, like who do you start with if you don't use Scotty? Or sorry, do you think the general public starts with Morikawa or Fleetwood more often is a better way to put this?
Morikawa. And this is why I think that Xander still gets ownership, because I think that Xander is the logical choice to start next.
Yeah, I think right now it looks like, to me, like Morikawa and Fleetwood would be where people start at and try and go balanced, but then they'll end up on the same guys is what's going to happen.
Ludwig, Straka, Lowry. How about that as a start?
Yeah, love that.
And then we can use like our chalky guys, right?
Maybe. Oh, yeah, I got the lineup. We just won all the money.
All right, let's hear it.
You finish it out with Sunj, Bradley, Novak.
Does that actually work?
Yep.
Sunj, Bradley, right on to Novak. There it is.
And you can easily get away with Novak here because you've got Sunj, Lowry, Straka, Oberg. Like you got all the dudes there. And this projects horrible, by the way. But that's for us. That's the way to play it.
All right, well, let me build my version of this that I like better.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just because I don't like Sunj, so that's. I don't even really like Keegan this week. It was just a point between the two of them. I do like Fitz better from that area, and then we can play around with it. There's no one really below here that I like all that much. Like, who do you like from the upper 7s?
I'm just trying.
I like Noren. And if we use Noren, then we don't even have to use Fitzpatrick. We can take Fitzpatrick up to Berger or Spieth if we wanted to. I was just looking for a way to get Hovland into this lineup. And I can turn him into Lowry. And I can get rid of 7,200. Anyone good there? Wyndham outside that same range that we talked about before.
What about Ludwig, Hovland, Lowry, Berger, Noren, Novak?
I changed it up a bit because I got rid of Noren. I went Ludwig, Lowry, Hovland, Straka, Rose, and Novak.
Straka, Rose. Okay. How much is Rose?
69.
And do you have $300 left over?
I do.
Yeah, so could be whatever you want there. I mean, that lineup's got some unique pieces in it already that you could just go from like Ludwig to Cantlay if you wanted, but I don't know what you like better.
I think the point of this is to build it with Ludwig, but yes, you could most definitely, you could go up easy to him. I mean, you could find the money to go up to Morikawa if you wanted to, but I think that those are 4 players that I like that are not the superstar level type guys. I think all 4 of those guys could win.
Yeah, that's what you got to look for when you're building it, just to make sure.
And I think that there is and people will argue with me on this, and maybe they're right, but once you get below Lowry, and maybe most people would include Lowry into this. I mean, the guy's won a major championship, but hasn't won in like 6 years. So maybe he is a part of the loser brigade as well. But once you get below him and into Daniel Berger, I think you're now more into the spot where not that those guys have no chance to win, but it's very limited.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. I'm just trying to look at like if there's another balanced version that people get to.
I don't think that people get to this one. If we wanted to build a balanced version that people do get to, I think that we're at like Cantlay, Fleetwood, Siwoo, Novak. What does that leave us with?
Bradley, Rye.
Fitz.
I think
And
it's
then
Bradley Rye is how they would finish it, though. But
Bradley, I would say Fitz Rye, but Bradley Rye uses all the money, so that probably it doesn't even use all the money. It's exactly
no, it's the same. Yeah, it's basically the same. I'm just saying that's where I think the ownership goes.
So this would be an example of a non-Scotty lineup that some version of this I think would be incredibly popular.
Yeah, this is how people would go.
I don't like that lineup.
What about if we use Xander?
Yeah, let's take out Cantlay, put in Xander. What do we have to do to make this work? Do you like Hideki?
He's interesting for sure. Another guy that I was looking up earlier too that wasn't playing great last year before a nice finish here at the Memorial. He was bad at the Masters, bad at the PGA Championship, and then did good at the the Memorial and the US Open thereafter. So we know he's capable. Like that's the thing. It's just do we get what version do we get? So I think he's fine as well from a tournament perspective. Yes.
I prefer Hovland. Obviously, Hovland's going to be higher owned. But what if we just do Xander Hovland to start a lineup? Or would you want to go Xander Ludwig? It seems like you like Ludwig.
Like that mid 7K range, like the Scotty lineup. So I think you kind of have to go with some of the other thought processes. Like if you go Xander Ludwig and then put in Keegan and Fitzpatrick, 2 8K guys that you like, you would now be at 6,900, where you could close it out with Rose and Colley and leave $100, and you're still way different. But you got Colley in because you're not using Colley with Scotty like everybody else is. You see what I mean?
How about we just use Jagger and Colley?
Yeah, I like him too.
I mean, it's hard to miss fairways here, but I bet you Steven Jagger can figure that out.
Yeah, I think so.
But he has the right type of game for this course in a weird way.
Yeah, the chat asking earlier, they know I like him. So, he's a Scotty. My lineups are going to have Sunj and Jagger in them for sure. I'll take Fitzpatrick out, put Sunj. There's my lineup is Xander, Ludwig, Sunj, Keegan, our original conversation with Rose and Bud Colley. But then I'm going to change Rose and Bud Colley to be Steven Jagger and Ryan Gerard.
Costi Gerard.
Yeah.
I don't get that guy. I don't think I've ever played him. And he's been good.
He's been good. Yeah.
He's a guy who pops in optimizers, weirdly enough.
He does. Yeah. Because he's got some results to speak for. That's why.
Enter that one. All right. Is there any other sort of lineup that you'd like to build?
I was just looking at that Ryder Cup lineup in the chat.
I wasn't looking at the chat. There's a Ryder Cup lineup to build?
Yeah. Check it out. Oh, wow. It's pretty crazy. It fits too.
You could go Fleetwood, Ludwig, Fitz, Bobby Mack, Lowry, Rose. That actually isn't a bad lineup.
Grinder City, baby. That's a nice one. Projections are horrible on these lineups, but that's fine.
Wouldn't say that Ludwig's a grinder. Throwing that out there.
No, true. I mean, the rest of them looks pretty good, though.
Who was it? It was...
Ludwig's a winner. That's what he is.
Fleetwood, Fitz, Bobby Mack. Fitz... Cuss boy, Bobby. I tried to type in Bobby. Robert McIntyre, Fleetwood, and Rose was the last guy. Oh yeah, that fits perfectly. That's a pretty solid balance build lineup, and that way you can work in Fleetwood and Fitzpatrick even at like bigger ownership numbers, and you don't have to be worried about it
for sure. 2 guys that the chat brought up I thought was funny. Like Max Homa was back, but then he wasn't. And Cam Young was back and then he wasn't.
I feel like I was out in front of this Max Homa is back sort of thing where I had Vincenzi and Cam both telling me, oh, Max Homa. It's like, yeah, he putted the lights out for 1 round at a major, made him look good. And then where did he finish again?
Not good.
Not good.
What was he? I had it up here a second ago when I was going to talk to you about it just because
was it even T30?
I think he got 30th. Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah, good result though. When that's your good result, that's a problem.
Yeah, Cam Young at least pulled off the 7th place.
Yeah, at least Ricky has 2 top 15s.
Yeah, that's better for Ricky too. Yeah.
This guy says take the Canadian, Mac Hughes. I was thinking about betting Nick Taylor to win this event. Maybe I'll throw that one on too. It's been a while since Nick Taylor has won, so I feel like he's due.
What is his price this week?
He's like 6,300 or something. Nick Taylor is 6,500.
Nicky T. Nah, it's too much.
He's been really bad, but he's weirdly like Siwoo in that way that he will win with no form.
Oh yeah, he can for sure. I'm trying to see if like another version of this works, but there's not much, man.
It's tough because all those guys. Who would you take in a head-to-head this week? Snedeker or Nick Dunlap?
Oh God. Probably have to risk Dunlap, but he's been so bad.
He's so bad. Nick Taylor was 27th here last year.
Nick Dunlap was 12th here last year.
Yeah, but he's not a real golfer anymore.
How does that fall off that quickly, though?
He can't drive the ball.
Yeah, maybe it is Sneds. I don't know. That's a tough one for sure.
Dunlap has the driver yips, which is something you don't normally see from an elite player. The guy who's won twice on the PGA Tour over the past 12 months.
Yeah. One quick thing on the Mackenzie Hughes thing, though, I was just gonna say is I know a lot of people played him last week at 7,900 and he hurt their feelings, but he's such a boom bust guy that he is worth it in tournaments because miscut second, miscut third, miscut 36th, 10th. Like if he is in the mix, he's all the way up. That's what you've seen with him on a long-term sample. So I think it is interesting, Mac Hughes, go back to the well, because every week you get it, right? Someone says, of course, I played him last week when he was 15% or whatever it was, and he didn't do anything for me. You just never know where it's going to show up, and this could be a spot here. So he's interesting at 6,800 where nobody's going to him this week.
And if you need, it's funny because Mac Hughes is weirdly like the less good version of like your argument for Sung Jae.
Yeah, maybe. I think he's fine. I think they're both fine. I put them in a lineup together. Mac Hughes, Sung Jae. Throw those guys together.
Let's do it. We'll throw them in together. We'll go Mac Hughes. That'll be our starting point. Mac Hughes and Sung Jae. Who's another guy that you want to make a boom bust case for that's down low?
Jagger.
Eckroat should be good here, and I don't know why he's not.
Yeah, we could put him in.
Yeah, it was Glover who I liked. I mean, I brought this up with Nick Taylor to begin with, so let's just go with Nick Taylor.
Yeah, good with
so
that.
9,500 left for the last three guys. You could do like Morikawa, Cantlay, Lowry or something.
No, Ludwig, Fleetwood, Morikawa.
Ludwig, Fleetwood. Oh, yeah, fits perfectly.
Bang.
Now, you talked about the winning lineup before. I think this is the winning lineup now.
Everything we make is the winning lineup until it isn't.
That's right. That's greite optimism. It's like the guy we got paired up with this guy yesterday, one of the randoms at my course, and like he had a very positive outlook, and it was starting to like really make me mad by the end of the round.
That's the worst, right? You're usually pretty optimistic. You're good to go. You're feeling good. Once shit starts going bad for you, and somebody else is trying to keep it positive, you just want to tell them to close it up, shut it down, move on. And that's kind of the case, and that'll really happen on the golf course for sure.
Yeah, like when you got like the bad thoughts in your head standing over the putt to begin with, and like I hit it like 10 feet, and the guy's like, "Oh, easy birdie." It's like that. I've been 3-putting from this distance all day. This is not an easy birdie.
Especially when it's a random trying to keep it upbeat. Yeah. It's like I don't even know you, man. Yeah, chiming in like easy birdie. It's like, are you being condescending? Now I'm getting pissed off.
Yeah, and he said it to we got paired up with another rando too, and he drove a green. It was a beautiful drive, and he had probably, 40 feet for eagle. And the guy was like pumping him up. The guy 4-putted for bogey.
Oh my God.
Great drive though. Fantastic drive.
Yeah, best ball would have been awesome, but yeah.
Yeah, a good scramble in that regard. All right, let's take some questions if anyone has anything, and we'll try to do it here. Let's see here. Is anyone sniffing the Cole Kane this week besides Cam? I don't know.
That's right up your alley, though. The nickname, because
that's Cam. Cam came up with that one.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, because I was gonna say remember Jason sniffing the Kokrak. That guy's not anywhere near us. Remember, he just walked off the course. By the way, he had the live deal all tied up, and so he just walked off the course. He hit the backstop, and then they were like, "Yeah, he just walked away." That was his last time ever on the PGA Tour.
Dane says at least he didn't say right club choice though after a terrible putt. He was like basically saying some of that stuff too. That's a really good looking putt. It's like it blew by 10 feet. It was not a good putt.
Yeah, I hate that. Don't lie.
Yeah, see, this guy has it right. I don't want your positive reinforcement. Just let me tilt. I need to out tilt myself, and then I get back into a good mind space. But the guy wasn't letting me tilt enough.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like if you got someone like that, people think it's a good thing, but in golf, it's definitely a bad thing, especially
Well,
in your head. It's independent. It's independent game.
Well, it also depends on who you are too. It would be perfect for Cust. Cust needs that positive reinforcement at all time, or he goes into a dark place. I need to get mad to the point where I come out of it, and then I'm fine.
Yeah, it's also like it's better when you're off the court. If you're doing it more serious, like with DFS, if you're talking to somebody who's in a downswing, you're trying to pump them up, talk to them about it when they're outside of playing time. Don't talk to them on Sunday morning before the NFL slate locks and be like, yo, this is the week, man. Like, you got to do everything right. Just like, shut up and let me build my lineups and get in my zone. It's like, I don't need you telling me how to do this right now. But yeah, that makes sense.
Aaron asks, is there any strategy for building cut versus no cut events, or just use the same shitty strategy for both? This is a cut event, so use that one.
Yeah. The other thing is, that's a good question. I like the way he worded it and making fun of himself when Pat says good questions. Good question, Aaron. I like that. But no, I think what he's talking about, maybe I'm wrong, but like kind of pinning it towards how people think this, they play it more aggressive because it's like a chance that it could be a no cut, even though it's not and hasn't been, but anything could happen. But I definitely would not. It's all what you like down there. The one thing I'll say is we know Scotty's going to be extremely popular, even more so the higher stakes. And there is enough guys in the 6K range. I just don't know if there's enough guys that people love, meaning it'll be spread out, but I don't think people are committing too heavily to like a stars and scrubs here. I do see love for some of these balanced builds or ability to get to them the way we showed it, Pat, like in how you could build and land on a version of that at least.
Brian Campbell has been brought up in the chat. Any love for him? He has been doing very well with his approach plays around the green. He sucks off the tee though.
Yeah, was it last week or the week before when everybody loved him and then he was like a so-so result? I think it was the week before last.
Well, he's played a major and an elevated event two of the past 3 weeks. So it was probably last week when he missed the cut at Colonial.
Yeah.
I used him last week. And it's funny, one of the reasons that he actually missed the cut last week is he couldn't putt.
I would take the shot on Eckroat. Hope that he gets out there early. He's out early Thursday morning. Hope he gets that really good round in and then makes it happen on whatever happens Friday or Saturday, whatever ends up going down. But I definitely would take a shot on someone like Eckroat there or Nick Taylor, who you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, even Bridgman or Highsmith, whichever one that you like better. Like Bridgman has been...
Same guy.
They are the same guy. Neither of them is playing very well right now, but they both popped at Honda, which is a Nicklaus adjacent course. And
yeah, go ahead.
You're gonna say, and Highsmith was top 10 at the PGA Championship 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, just hope we don't get Joe Lowsmith, and you'll be all right. But if he's in there and get you an 8th place, the 20th, the 22nd at those prices, could end up being really good. So I think that's fine. If you like it, go there. But 6,100, it's hard to go wrong. That you can try some if you're building that way and trying out some of these options.
I think I would find a way to get up to Glover, who I just think has a better all-around game for this course.
Yeah, I am going to take some more shots on some of those guys down there, like Sam Stevens, Eckroat, maybe Highsmith does go into the mix, like you said. But yeah, I agree with you on Glover for sure. He fits the bill also.
At what price is it not even worth building with Scotty at 14 plus K? This guy won't even build with him at 13.3. I think that's to say you're not going to build with him at 13.3 is, I think, wrong. I think you should be using him.
A huge leak in people's game trying to correlate a price to a result because we don't have the results till after it ends. So you won't know till you know. But clearly, if Scotty wins this thing, he's needed, whether he's 13.3 or 14, because there's enough guys down there that would make it work. And someone in a lottery style tournament is going to have versions of that lineup that fit. So just remember that. It's all about what you're playing in and what you're doing, but you don't know till you know. Also, Scotty could come fourth this week and you'll say, well, he wasn't needed when he was fourth last week. Correct, because other shit happened that made so he wasn't needed. This week, if Xander's question marks don't go away, if JT doesn't play well for a week and some of these other guys falter, but Scotty comes third or something like that, you could still end up needing him depending on what fits around him and what makes it happen. Too many times people are saying, well, he won't be optimal if this happens. Nobody hits the optimal in golf, like ever. You can look at it. It's like usually $6,000 left on the table, the most random thing that's 70 points above the winning lineups. All that matters is what's in the winning lineups and what other people are doing that you're building against. That's why we play the game, not about the picks and plays. Shout out to my guy, DGen. That's definitely his thing. It's process over picks and plays, and that's it. And that's part of it for sure.
No love for grinders like Denny or Brian Harmon? I'd have more love for Denny than Brian Harmon, but neither of them are really on my radar.
Yeah, I think Denny, again, any week, if Denny can just get a hot putter, it's going to always be in the mix. That's what keeps him around and the smaller field and all this stuff. So I think Denny is good. I didn't have a lot of thoughts on Brian Harmon particularly because I just think it's interesting, though. He's like right there with Novak, but that's probably what, throws people off that spot. But Seabez, somebody mentioned in the chat, is another guy right down there just below those guys. And he may pick up a little bit of steam too. I don't know if people will go Rose or Seabez, but Seabez is right there at 6,900 coming off. I think it was another good week, right, for Seabez.
Yeah, he was 16th and gained over 4 strokes on approach. That was after gaining 5 at the PGA Championship. He was top 5 at this course last year. I think that he is someone that ownership projections will not take into account, and he'll probably come in double, triple whatever he's projected at. So I would guess when we talked about the 6K guys, he's 6K, right? Like 6K range.
Yep.
So yeah, him and Cully will be the two.
What's crazy is this is why I've been looking at this stuff a little bit more, but like last year, Seabez coming in had a 13th at the Players, a 9th at the Valspar, a 28th at the RBC Heritage, a 16th at the Wells Fargo, a 17th at the Schwab, and then gets a 4th here. I mean, he was definitely playing some really good golf at that time coming in. I don't know if it'll be the same here. He's coming off of a decent week, but it's not like he's been on fire lately. That's his first good week in a while.
He hasn't, but his putter has been cold, which is not really a Seabez thing. He's lost on the greens in 5 of 7 starts. He had one big spike at the Heritage. That was it. He was even break even last week. I needed him to make a putt on the 72nd hole to get his top 10. And of course he missed it. Very makeable putt at the same time, but his chipping and his putting are usually the strengths of his game. And now that's going towards his approach. Can he match his approach to his usual baseline of putting, which is, geez, like when you take a look at over the course of his career, like he's gaining almost 2 strokes per tournament on the greens for his career. And he's nowhere near that at the moment. He did gain marginally last week, but like 0.7, which is a big, leap back up from -4, -2, -2, -2, -3. That if that starts coming back around, I could see it matching up. I would not go to a high-owned Bez this week. That's my personal.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd want to see what the final ownership projection looks like or any other talk that comes out, but that's certainly a thought that I have as well. I'll go to my guy Jaeger for $100 more.
Sunj and Burns or Fitz and Keegan? I mean, we already answered this for you, Lou.
Yeah, the answer is also build 2 lineups. Like whatever you're trying to play, if that's really where you're at with your thought process, it's not rude, it's just factual. It's like if you were going to play a $20, go find 2 $10 and play them both. It's a 2v2. Nobody knows the answer, so you can ask a million people. It'll just confuse you more. And if you're playing to win money at that level, like the difference in 20 grand, 10 grand, 5 grand, they're all going to be huge scores. So go get the money and give yourself a chance to win the money. Play both lineups.
Or just play Sunj and Keegan together, as we said.
Yeah, we know that already. That's the real answer, but I try to help people out a little bit more. So yeah, I would definitely just run 2 and just drop your buy-ins down if you need to save the bankroll.
Lou's got a tricky last name here. Lou, did you see that as well, Jared? Lou Skunt. That's playing with fire with that name. Last one from Thomas. What about Connors? Makes sense. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, what became interesting is we didn't talk about him, but he shows like he's getting ownership. But in reality, is he? Because none of the builds really lead to him, right? Even if you go Cantlay, it's probably Fleetwood or drop in the 8K range. If you start with Scotty, you're mostly skipping over that. So maybe you got to try and get there in a different way. Maybe it's like a Scotty Connors. Maybe it's a balanced lineup that doesn't start with Fleetwood, Cantlay, or Morikawa, even though you're leaving the win equity. Once you're leaving Scotty's win equity off the table anyway, you're kind of leaving the majority of the win equity either way. I know there's a bunch between the next group, but all I'm saying is you could build a little bit differently that way. So I don't hate it. So yeah, I think he could end up being lower than people think just because of math.
Yeah, it's funny because you start trying to think of the lineups. He actually makes a lot of sense with Scotty, but that's just almost an impossible lineup to build. That if I was doing that balance build, we talked about before, like I could see those 4 guys winning this tournament. Could I see Connors winning this tournament? Maybe, but for $200 more, I could have Ludwig, or for $100 less and $200 less, I could have Victor or Hideki. I would feel far more confident with those 3 guys winning this tournament over Connors. But if you were able to pair him with Scotty can win, Connors can come in 4th, you're fine. But if I need to make up win equity, like you mentioned, Connors wouldn't be the guy I'd want to do it with.
No, that's what I mean. You'd have to just take the shot on like made cuts and high finishes. So it'd be like Corey Connors. I'd be wanting to put like Straka Lowry right behind him and hope that those guys have that type of week that we've seen them have in the past. Still lands you in the upper sevens, and then you can get to guys that we talked about in the low eights or the high sevens mixed with some of the others. You get some upside out of them and hope that the winner comes through from that group. But it's tricky over 4 days at this course.
Actually, this will be the last one because this guy's coming in late. Now, if you want to go to 2106 of the show, we discussed this exact topic in detail, but one and done strategy. If you're barely in the money or just out of it, how should we be approaching our picks each week? Pick good players that win money and move up in the standings. That's a very easy way to do it. Just pick good guys who do well. Then you'll be fine. Prioritize leverage, best option available. But his question is also, if you haven't used Scotty, where do you use them? The answer is this week.
Yeah, this week. I'm in 3,700 and I'm using Scotty. He's like 23%. It's what you said. You got to pick up the money. And so even though the other 23% could be using him, there's other factors to it. But in reality, you need money. We're running out of events that pay big money. So you need all the money. So yeah, there's more strategy to be had when you're at the top of the board right now, in my opinion, than the bottom. Is pretty straightforward. You need to pick up money now, immediately, or you're dead.
And the short version of this is the best opportunity Scotty is going to have to win any of these tournaments. Not that he won't win all of them, but no Rory, no Live guys. You're going to get him at the U.S. Open. The one detraction that you could say from Scotty at Oakmont is that he just doesn't simply hit it far enough. I think the rest of his, he's going to be the betting favorite. He should be the favorite in the tournament based on his entire game. But if length really does become the deciding factor, like we've seen at U.S. Opens, he actually doesn't have that versus a Rory or Bryson or even Rahm.
Plus, we got too many options left that we can use at these majors because of the live spots alone. Like you already got spot. Like I got Rahm and Bryson left to use at the U.S. Open if I want to. I'm just saying, obviously, I'm using Bryson, but I'm using Scotty this week. I'm using Bryson at the U.S. Open, and I'll figure out the rest from there.
All right, that'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. As we mentioned before, when the show is over in about 20 seconds, you can go click on the GoFundMe link, and you can find that at Toe Tag and Tambo to support the family and the charities of DGen 75. That's at Toe Tag and Tambo on X. It's pinned up there as well, and you'll be able to find it down in the description. Hit the like and sub to the channel. I'll have the newsletter for real this time coming out later tonight with all of the final plays, the weather, and if I do add anything, it'll be in there. That'll be completely free. I'll have it up for free on X as well. Tomorrow, Tambo, the best of Cust Eats on this channel.
Yes, love that shit. Let's go. Everyone loves food. I'm a big foodie, you know this. So shout out to all the big boys out there. I'm trying to get skinnier, but I will say, yeah, I'm excited for the eats.
Yeah, Cust Eats MRE. So it's the best of this year. We're going to work on the best of last year as well, like when he ate the hot dog sideways, which was insane.
Yeah.
Tickets to the live show available right now down in the description. Maybe we'll do a Cust. I hadn't even thought of that. Maybe we'll Uber eat something during the live event to get Cust to eat it. Maybe that's a play that we can do. And hit me up. Yeah, if you have any suggestions for the show, because it's the first and maybe only one we're doing, we do want to blow it out as much as possible. Tickets available down in the description right now. All right, good luck at the Memorial. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.